Hi, I'm Elizabeth Reesness, and today I will be telling you about the growth of emotional abuse in youth sports and how it's encouraged by coaches, players, and parents. First off, coaches are supposed to encourage players to be better, and they're supposed to prepare them to be ready physically and mentally on the field. They're supposed to show players the strategy of the game and how to react to different situations in the game, and they're supposed to train their players' physicality and make sure they're ready to play and whatnot. And I've played soccer for 13 years, and I've had my fair share of coaches, and there are different types of coaches. There are completely positive and encouraging coaches. There's blunt coaches who will call you out for things you need to work on, but they'll also give you accolades on when you did something good. It's currently one of my favorite types of coaches. But some coaches don't simply call out a player and let them know what they need to work on. Some coaches will just look at the negative, and they will ridicule and embarrass and humiliate so many players. I know a lot of players who have dropped out because they cannot deal with how horrible a coach is to them, or they'll have a coach that completely ignores them. They'll have a coach who believes he's found star players. He will play only them, only coach them, and he will deem the rest of the players uncoachable. He'll think that they cannot be any worse than they are. Like, I cannot do anything about them. I've had that coach as well, and it is very hard to deal with both of them. Both of them can really put a warped idea of self-worth on a young player. And other coaches push too hard, and there are so many cases of that. And there are coaches who will encourage their players to be mean to each other, which encourages this horrible mentality in the game, and it doesn't work at all. And parents are meant to encourage their players, but some only end up seeing what's wrong and what their player did wrong, which puts a lot of pressure on a young player and trains their brain to see what they did wrong as well and not see any of the positive. And some parents try to encourage their players, but it ends up feeling more like pressure. If a parent says, try to score in the game today, if a player doesn't score, they'll sometimes feel like they've let their parent down. And that'll put a lot of pressure on a player too. And some parents will go so far as to get their player as far as they can, and to the point where they will decide that they need to discourage other players. I have had games where I will have parents on the side screaming how I'm not doing it right and how I need to pick it up. Parents that aren't my parents that don't even know me, will tell me how bad I am playing, in the idea that I'm pushing their player down. When I was 11, I had a parent tell a coach on the field in front of me that they will not have their child play on the same field as me. And hearing things like that as a kid, it is so hard to hear and still think of yourself highly. It is so hard to hear people say horrible things about you and look in the mirror and be able to say something positive. And thirdly, teammates won't be supportive towards each other. Coaches and parents will both encourage it. I've had a coach who called it soccer swagger, which was a name for justifying hurting other players and bringing them down. Now there is the idea of soccer swagger, where you push each other up and you call each other out for your mistakes and build each other up because of that, and that's the way it should be. You should be able to call out your teammates on when they did something wrong, and you should be able to encourage them for when they did something right. But the way that this coach was encouraging was not right. It got so bad to the point that at 13, we had racial slurs being thrown around on the field. At 13. And it has only continued, and it is because that we have this warped idea of youth sports. We push players to be winning, and we don't push them to be improving, and that's our biggest problem.